Hello, friendly people. It's been a minute for me. There's been a lot going on in the past 2 weeks. Job interview. I think I mentioned I didn't get that. And that was due to good reasons that I agree with, based on language, because I was dealing with a project that would require multilingual ability, which I don't quite have sufficiently. And that didn't upset me. I accepted it, and I'm sure, as I mentioned, I knew I wasn't quite ready. I'll clean the lens a little bit. Is that better? Perhaps. In any case, some other elements came up. Was dropped by insurance, running out of money, still unable to do simple things like complete a form or follow instructions. And yes, that leaves me feeling pretty dumb. And I know that I'm not dumb, but I'm temporarily incapable of doing certain things. I'm holding the camera at an angle because I'm walking next to a path and there's people that pass by, so I want to respect their privacy. But in the midst of sorting out financial insecurities, I found a insurance policy that I'd been paying for and hadn't taken advantage of, even though I'd asked for it several times. And finally, just through persistence, I knew there must be something missing. I did find it, and was able to get some extra money, so that helped. And I'm also going to be I've applied and will be interviewed for a pretty intensive rehabilitation program, and I'm all for it, so I'll be doing that. Hopefully that works out. And I'm outside of America. I'm an American. I'm in a non-English speaking country, and so again, the language there may be challenging, but well, we'll see what we can do. I'm sure I do understand some of the native tongue, and I'm confident that even though I wouldn't understand or communicate fluently, I would still get something out of it and would participate to whatever extent I can, and I'm sure it would be good, so I'll be going for that. And I'd love to know how you are doing, whoever you are, and whenever you're listening to this. It's 2019 right now. It's October 9th, I think. Something around there. No, must be October 12th or 13th. 13th, I think, yeah. 2019. And I don't think I have any external viewers on these yet, but it's okay. I'm putting them out there, and I'm not trying to push them either. Maybe at some point I will a bit more, but it's not for my sake. It's for your sake. So maybe the world is quite different when you're listening to this. Excuse my heavy breathing. I'm walking up a hill here. I'll be getting a gimbal, which is a phone holder, so when I'm walking it's smoother. That was a small expense, not too expensive, and I think it's worth it if I'm really going to be doing this meaningfully. These gorgeous leaves, as it is the fall, I mean, just look at that. And it's less that they turn from green to yellow or orange or red, but rather that the green leaves the leaves. It exits the leaf systems because it is preparing to shed the leaves, and the photosynthesis is no longer needed. So the chlorophyll, I believe it's called, which is the green, sort of goes back into the trunk and root structure of the tree, and what remains is what we see in the fall. These yellows, oranges, and reds. I may not have much smart to offer today, or much excitement. I've been feeling, well, because of the past week and a half, really quite overwhelmed. Yesterday, actually, I had a day like I haven't had in a long time, where I am so exhausted that I have to just I can't handle YouTube or lights, television, reading, like nothing. And I sit nearly catatonic and sleep, sort of half sleep, and generally feel like crud. And it was a good lesson. That is gorgeous, huh? It was a good lesson for me as a reminder, which I'm supposed to remind myself of sort of continuously, that wherever I'm at, it's okay. That I shouldn't, that I should accept if I'm not, back to 100%, that I do that. I'm walking a bit carefully down here because there's some moist moss on this slope of a rock, which could be slippery. So anyways, and I forgot what I was just saying, but I know I'm somewhere around not being well and trying to get better, and having a setback yesterday. Oh yes, perhaps that it was a good reminder. That was it. It was a reminder to me that I'm still on the mend. Not that I need a reminder of that, but that I have limits, and if I push myself too far beyond them, it's healthy to kind of stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone, keep reaching out there, that's part of the rehabilitation, to get back to where you want to be, if not where you were. It's just so pretty. And so it's a good reminder that if I push too far, too far is too far, and that results in having to sort of pay a bit of a cost of energy or mental capacity. I'm even a little surprised that I'm out of the house right now, and I'm glad I am, because it is beautiful. And I was inspired by the beauty to then record. So thus we are so engaged at this moment. I dearly encourage everyone to listen as quietly and deeply, without distractions, to your body, as if it's full of recorded data, specifically catered to you. Because that's been my experience when I've had the discipline to take a moment and let go of external inputs, trying to stop sort of giving myself some input of information or news or learning. Right now, the American president Trump is under impeachment investigation, and there are some witness testimonies, and there will be trials, and that is drawing my attention, and it doesn't need to. And if it isn't that, it can be anything else. It's just an example. So when I have the discipline to let that stuff go, so pretty, isn't it? God, so pretty. Then I'm able to, like, just in deep silence and relaxation and really being aware of the space that I'm in, which is typically the bed, when I'm doing something like this, and I'm lying down or I'm sitting in a half lotus and leaning forward, or just cross-legged and then leaning forward, or whatever is comfortable, and I can completely relax. So whatever's comfortable for you, if you want to try that and completely relax, to allow, the awareness of the space you're in to register, and then sort of do a bit of an inventory internally, putting your attention through your body. You can start from the toes and feet and heel and ankle, and as you feel each of those areas, you feel they're there, you feel the life in them. You may feel their weight or density or circulation, or feel the way that they sit supported on the bed or the floor or whatever, and continue along the rest of your body that way, feeling the presence of the body and feeling where it is supported, and feel that peace, and feel if there's tension, and allow it to soften, allow it to relax, allow it to go down, allow it to open, and continue this awareness of self. And then listen, and for what, I can't quite tell you, because it isn't that it's a certain kind of thing that you're listening for. I can't describe it, but my experience has been that it is a quiet but purposeful message sort of in the body, and listening to that message, well, you'll hear some things, you'll learn some things. I believe actually that everything that's ever happened to us in our lives is recorded and stored, not just in our brain, but in our sort of organic mass, stored in bits of muscle and bone and fiber and tissue. So pretty. Andrew Goldsworthy did this thing where he put leaves at the base of a beautiful tree, somewhat like this base, around the trunk, in such a way that the brightest leaves were right against the trunk, and they sort of gently shaded back into the earth browns, that is the rest of the surrounding ground. And it was a really beautiful effect, and I'm motivated to maybe do something like that. But maybe two of my favorite words in this and probably many other videos. So again, in that listening, there's going to be something meaningful, and do that as often as you can. And as I have done it, I have heard, or whatever, understood the impact of childhood traumas. And I mean, one can make easy sense of that. As we're young, any moment in our life is a greater percentage of our entire life up to that point. And say an hour or a minute is a larger part of our entire life, when our entire life is shorter. So when we're younger, it's a bigger deal. And we also don't have as many other similar situations to compare or contrast it with, so to understand it better, if it's usual, if it's unusual, sort of where to place a traumatic experience in the spectrum of normalcy, expectation, right or wrong, blah, blah, blah. And these can be really traumatic in that way. Just looking back where the light is shining on the trees. And as young people, these are some of the foundation building blocks, the foundation building material of ourselves and how we will understand ourselves and the world around us. And if they're really difficult situations, then they can provide, or they can just result in difficult, such a lovely, where is it there? Such a lovely stump covered in moss with some new things growing. Anyways, as faulty sort of construction at the foundation of how we build ourselves, you can imagine building a building with a bad cornerstone, and the rest of the building as you build up becomes a little bit lopsided, or it's similar that way with our traumas, our past traumas. And it's important, part of the healing process that I've experienced is that it is important at least to understand that and recognize it to the extent that we can. And heal it. And how we heal it will be unique to each person's experience. But that's been helpful, and that's what's come out of that exercise of listening to the self. Part of it is just understanding and accepting yourself, who you are. In understanding it better, it may be easier to have compassion for yourself, to not be so judgmental or harsh. I am my own worst critic, but I try to not be. And sometimes I'm successful at not being, and then I'll notice it's in others. And I become a little maybe too sensitive to that if I'm trying to not be hard on myself, and I hear some casual criticism, even just in fun or among friends, or conversation, typical conversation, and there's different perspectives. Internally, I might take that with a little more sensitivity than I previously had. And does that continue or go away? I have yet to find out. But I'm certainly more aware of, in general, negativity, and I call it unnecessary negativity. Some nice mushroom caps. Really neat pattern. Just taking some pictures. So I suppose that's the meat of what I would share at the moment, and sort of what is coming out of me on this day where I'm at. I can read. That's wonderful. Because I couldn't for a while, if that sounds dumb. I couldn't read for almost a year. Or maybe it was a year. It was about a year. And that was really upsetting. So that's when I started to really digest information. When I came back up to at least that level of energy, I was using audiobooks or YouTube, whatever, podcasts. But now I can read again, and that's great. But I can't read like intensely or so much as I used to. And I'll have to let that come back. I also recognize that this inability or limited ability has shown itself now and again, and in my life before I'd hit the wall. So it's been there. I mean, that's important to recognize, that I've had times when it's difficult to read something, and I find myself like, this isn't happening now, but what I relate to in the past, maybe I'm reading and I'm stressed, and I'll read the same sentence like 3 times and be like, dude, you're reading the same sentence, move on, or stop and rest and then start with a fresh head. It's not quite the same, but, well, it's there. It's just to say that it isn't a total black and white, world change. But it has a quality which is unique. Same with the tiredness and forgetfulness. Everybody gets tired. Everybody gets forgetful. So many of us are like overworked and under-rested and stressed and forgetful, and and I was there too, and recognized that, but still I was able to somehow function as if that's a sickness, it was like being a functional alcoholic or something like that, where even though things are off, you're still managing tasks. But yeah, at whatever threshold I crossed, I thought I was having a heart attack, and it turned out when I went to the doctor, my heart was fine. I'm in good health. It was stress. And that was the beginning of this now 14-month experience. And it can be 18 months, it can be 2 years. I thought it was dumb to have a month off of work, which was what I was given by the doctor initially. But it turned out they were right on the money, and, well, it's been a recovery since, and continues. We evolved for hundreds of thousands of years without devices with screens and news feeds. And it's been a pretty sharp uptick in that technology. In my lifetime, I was born in early 70s, 1972. And back then we had, hardwired phones on the walls and television sets with 6 channels, 6 stations to tune into, maybe a few more with, odd channels, but it was not the inundation of information that we have today with cable and internet and smartphones. So I'm going to take a seat on this log. So it's been an important, I think, observation for me to witness for myself, and it's, I think, perhaps for many, that this level of intense media digestion, consumption is not proportionate to our evolutionary expectations for our brain and its capacity. And I'm not putting any capacity on our brains, man. We can do incredible things. It's just to manage them wisely, not to do too much, and to know when to say no, or how to delegate. And I say all that stuff, and there are some situations, I worked at a place where so many people left because it was a bad place to work that the work kept shifting on other people. We lost management completely. For a while, we were absent of any manager, and then someone came in and stayed the length of their contract, was maybe 6 months, and then they left. And it was a while before someone new came in, and it was with a lot of hope and welcomeness that they they were welcomed into our office, and there are some bad actors in the world. Bad actors are, I think, in the minority, but often enough they're in positions of power and influence that affect the lives of many, and this was the case with this individual. And I simultaneously have I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say negative, but critical consideration of this person, as well as compassion. And it can be difficult to hold those two things at the same time. That's how it is. It's a really long video. It's the longest one I've done, I guess, even though it's not quite 30 minutes, but I should stop soon. And then they were soon followed by an even worse manager, in my opinion, who was slicker and smarter and just would take action on doing inappropriate, unethical, bad decisions that affected people in bad ways that didn't make sense. It's fine if they make sense, but these did not make sense. They were just sort of like posturings that they could show management above. Hey, I'm making change here, and it was absolutely inappropriate and wrong. And it continued. And the good news is, and I do relate this to the ongoing impeachment inquiries, that there are institutions in place, a large body of people who have an interest in fairness and in upholding certain values and principles. And in doing so, one of these people was removed by an institution that had, that's in place to safeguard the workplace. And several employees had said, hey, this is really bad here. And so there was an investigation, and I understand, that was undertaken, that eventually resulted in the removal of one of these, the second of the two bad dudes, which was framed internally into the company as, it's no longer needed, we're closing the business, that part of the business. But that wasn't true at all. Someone else came in. It was dumb. That reasoning was, on its surface, not true, but but expected, of course. Now I'm blathering. Sorry. And I forgot what my point was, except just to give some background. This is definitely one of the more nonlinear videos I've done, I think. And I just attribute that to my state, and I hope it's cohesive enough to make sense for you. All right, I leave it there. Love yourself. Appreciate where you're at. It's a good thing. If you're right now like incapacitated from stress, it's kind of a thank God moment, because that's your body catching you before it was too late. And listen to it. It's part of that body wisdom. All right. Till next time, love you guys. Bye-bye.